All right. I'm Jacob. I'm a geologist, so not exactly robotics, but we do, as technology and time progresses, the industry is getting more and more dominated by cool robotic tech and drones. Um, but yeah, I'm been asked and here today just to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. So, Uh, I'm 28, turning 29 this Saturday. Woohoo. Grew up in Pomona, so just the other side of the hill from Walnut. I went to Diamond Ranch High School, and I'm now married to my sweetheart from middle school, of all things. We met at Lorbeer and came in and out of each other's lives for a few years before reconnecting in 2019 and then starting to date and got married in 2024 and now we're out here living together with two cats. So it's a pretty good life if I do say so myself. So what I do is I'm a geologist, and a lot of people when they hear geologist, they think someone who's involved in mining or oil and gas or digging dinosaur bones. And it's a much broader field than that. So I specifically am a staff geologist at a geotechnical engineering and consulting firm. So we're basically the guys that whenever you want to build something, we're the ones you call to make sure the ground's not going to fall apart beneath your feet before you build it. Typically, we work hand in hand, geologists and engineers, typically civil engineers. And as the geologist, I specialize in finding the hazards. The engineer is the poor sap that then has to try and figure out how to fix the hazards. Um, it's very much explorative in nature. We're constantly going out to all these different places. I've been up and down the West Coast for my job. The picture on the left there, in the snow this past December, I got sent up to Spokane, Washington to do a subsurface soils investigation at an Air Force base. So yeah, we get to see all kinds of cool things, go to all kinds of cool places, and really get to live the scientific method day by day in what we do. So how I got here, for my schooling, I went to Cal Poly Pomona. And I originally started there as an aerospace engineering major. I did that for about a year, and after that was like, this is not what I want. This is all space, no aero, and I just was not enjoying the coursework. So the summer after my first year, I got speaking to a geophysicist, and he was the one to tell me that, geology is not just digging dinosaur bones and oil and gas. There's a lot more to it. And, we make just as much money as engineers do, and there's a better job market for us right now. And I said, You don't say. I'd always liked geology growing up, loved learning about natural disasters and looking at pretty rocks. And so I took an introductory course in 2016 and immediately knew this is what I want to do. Um, so for the next 4 years, I was at Cal Poly studying geology. And in 2020, right at the start of the pandemic, I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science with an emphasis in geophysics. So the picture on the left there is part of my senior research paper that I did. We actually got published, our team, in the Geophysical Society of America's like annual abstract uh, exposition. So I am technically a published author. It's a bit of a stretch, admittedly, but it's still fun to say. Um, so out of schooling, I graduated right at the start of the pandemic. So everything kind of was upside down. All of the potential internships I had dried up. Um, but thankfully, I had been working part-time for the engineering geology professor at Cal Poly while I was still in school. And he was doing work for small firms that didn't have an engineering geologist on staff. And so he had brought me out to a couple of these jobs with this one particular engineer. And in the fall of 2020, that engineer's firm got the green light to start growing their California office. So because I had that connection, he knew of me. And when he got the green light to grow, myself and the professor were the first two people he called. So I began work in September of 2020, and it was very much learn by doing. College prepares you with the basics, the basic book smarts, but getting out in the real world, you start learning a lot of skills they don't teach you while you're in college. So even though, engineering or well, the geology and the hazard finding is my specialty, we also do a lot of other stuff. So on the left there, I'm doing compaction testing with a nuclear moisture density gauge. On the bottom there, I spent 4 months on the 405 expansion testing lightweight cellular concrete. So it's you learn to wear many hats, especially in your early part of the career. Um, what comes next for me from there? Currently, I am a certified geologist in training. It's similar to the engineering progression to get a licensure, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's kind of akin to a doctor. They go to medical school, but after they do their medical school, they still have to do like a residency, get work experience before they're licensed to practice medicine on their own. It's the same thing here. So right now I'm at the first step. This coming month, I will be taking my final exam to get my professional geologist license. And then after that, I can then test for my certified engineering geologist license. I don't believe license is the correct name, but it's like how all doctors are MDs, but specialists have that one thing beyond just being like a general doctor. An engineering geologist is the same thing. It's my area of specialty. And that could potentially happen as early as the end of this year. So most of these things, you need about 5 years of work experience before you can start testing for your licensures. Um, oh, there's a odd little bug there. My apologies for that. Um, so I just wanted to give you guys some tips and tricks for success in STEM. Um, while you're in high school, it's important to remember grades are important, but they're not everything. I was took honors classes and AP classes, but for the most part, A's and B's. I was not a straight A student. But I did a lot of volunteer work outside of high school. And I also took 7 AP courses and passed all of them. And I think it was those two things that got me into um, such a competitive engineering program at Cal Poly Pomona. Um, Experience is key when you're getting to transition from college to the workforce. A lot of companies are going to be looking for experience versus just what grades you got, what classes you took. They want to see someone that has at least an idea of what the job life is like. So in that regard, while you're in college, network, 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 never stop networking. Especially in geology, it's the engineering geology world. It's not a small industry, but everyone knows everyone. And a lot of times these relationships and the ability to get your foot into the door is uh, helped in large part by getting to know someone that's already there. And there are a ton of professional organizations, not just geology, but in STEM in general. There will be professional organizations where existing people in the industry are at conferences to learn new skills, and a lot of them are there also looking for potential interns because there's usually a lot of students that will attend these events as well. Um, don't be afraid to ask questions and ask for help. Managers, in my experience, would much rather have you ask for help now on something than you try and figure it out yourself, mess it up, and create a headache for them. Don't burn yourself out. It's we get one life. Let's enjoy it. It should be not something you just spend your life slaving away. And lastly, never pass a chance to learn a new skill. A lot of, I think, staying power in industry, in especially science and other professional industries similar, having a broad range of skills is important because when things slow down and the economy's not the greatest and companies start trying to downsize, they're gonna want to keep the people that can do the most things. So even if it's not, something you're particularly familiar with, you get the opportunity to learn how to do concrete when your job is looking at rocks, take it. You never know where it's going to lead. So just in conclusion, I can say I absolutely love my job and what I do. I get to learn new things every day, help keep people safe, and get paid pretty well for it. Uh, Good enough to fund my Pokemon addiction anyway. So, overall, geology, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
All right, that was very interesting. Um, I would say I approve the Pokemon addiction. Uh, but yeah, it seems like because we're in high school currently, it seems like you got a lot of your inspiration of where you want to be in college. So kind of getting it early gives us I guess ideas and how it gives us encouragement that we don't really need to have it set currently in high school.
Absolutely.
All right. So, now that you kind of gave a summary of who you are and what you currently do, can we ask some questions possibly about,
Absolutely. Fire away.
all right. So I was wondering, what do you think there was a single moment of maybe once you got into geology, you were like, yeah, this is for me, and I don't think I'm gonna change since after this or something like that.
I can think of two. The first one being taking that introductory course, and like just everything just clicked. Um, Geology is unique, I think, among the sciences in that there is a bit of subjectivity to it, in that, two different people can look at the same outcrop and have different interpretations of what's going on. And there's just a certain interpretive skill that I think is hard to teach, and some people have and some people don't, but is very important in geology. And it's a skill that, like, I think I just had. So it gave me a leg up coming into the class and just being kind of able to intuitively understand everything that was being taught. The other moment was when I took the engineering geology course. Um, I had been in the program for, I think, about a year and a half when I first took the course. Um, and like I was doing a lot of geophysics at the time, and it was interesting. I loved it, but I wasn't quite sure where I was going to be able to apply my skill set. Then I took the engineering geology class and was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do.
All right, that's interesting and that's nice to know. Like, yeah, you knew pretty early on, like since college. So that was sorry. Yeah, but that's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and to that regard too, I mean, I spent oh God, um, since like the fifth grade, I had been obsessed with planes and history and World War II fighter planes, stuff like that. And that was a lot of the reason why I got into aerospace engineering as my like initial plan. So, I went probably 10 years of my life thinking aviation in some form was going to be what I did. And so to change that after, I mean, that point, half my life, um, to go into something that was a little more niche. I was the hardest part about changing my major from engineering to geology when I did was telling my parents because I thought they were going to, disapprove and they were going to judge me, but it was the furthest thing from that. They were supportive the whole way, in my corner the whole way, and I'm lucky that I have parents that were willing to be a little open like that. But I think at the end of the day, I absolutely made the right decision and I went with my gut, and that's kind of what you just have to do sometimes. If your gut's saying you should do it, then you should probably do it.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, did any of your friends help you get into geology, like friends or mentors?
Um, Not any friends. I had always had, I think I mentioned, just a interest in rocks and geology and volcanoes, and I've had a rock collection since I was probably 6. Um, but I never really had any friendships of people who were into it like me. And I never considered it a viable career path until I met that one person who worked in industry that summer. So it really opened my eyes to the possibilities of what I could do with geology. And then once you sort of you transition in and now you're studying with people who are also studying the same thing, that's, now you have your friends of like, okay, we're all kind of into the same thing here. But it is admittedly one of the more smaller sciences, and it's not like taught a ton in school, high school. So, I think it's awesome that like you guys who all have the interests in tech and robotics are able to come together and start, supporting each other to your future goals now. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, I have a question. So at the start you wanted to like aerospace, right? Was there
Mhm.
like any course, like any skills you learned from aerospace that you were able to apply in geology?
Oh, um, I actually, because of the way the coursework went, I took almost a year's worth of math beyond what I had already taken for uh so the engineering. I took it almost a year beyond what I needed for geology. So I had some more advanced level math skills than the compatriots who had been doing it from the start. Um, Having very like physics intensive courses. 'Cause we had to take the full calc-based physics series. We had to take vector statics. I remember doing that, which is just mechanics on steroids. And those courses, I think, also teach some of that, like just intuitive interpretation skill. If in physics, it's not just like pure math. um, Physics, the numbers actually mean something. So if you're calculating what's the velocity of a ball dropped from 30 feet high and you're getting 200 miles an hour, well, you've done something wrong. So getting that skill set and then being able to transition it to geology, being able to look at maps and rock formations. And I mean, geomorphology is a whole subsect of geology that just is determining why landforms look the way landforms look. Um, I think it really helped with my ability to understand that intuitively.
I have a question. How did you manage to network while you're in college, or how'd you do it?
Uh, a lot of the colleges, they have, I mean, career days are a big one. I had a few contacts that I had made from the 2019 career day for potential internships. That unfortunately, because of COVID, didn't pan out. But a lot of the classes, like they taught you and helped you sign up with those professional organizations and would encourage you to attend certain meetings. Some would offer scholarships. Some like they wanted you to present your research work at these professional expositions. Um, so that was the chance to network there, and then just forming relationships with your professors because I mean Cal Poly, especially because it's a polytechnic school, it's geared more towards progression into industry rather than academia. So a lot of those professors come from industry at some point, and they still know people in that are still like working in industry. So building good relationships with those professors, a lot of times, their old work buddies will say, "Hey, I'm looking for an intern or, an entry level scientist. Is there anyone in your class that you would recommend?" And they might say, "Oh, well, this Catherine is really smart. You might want to speak to her." So that is my advice for networking while in college.
Yeah, I have a question also. So, as being a geologist, do you do any other things than like examine rocks?
Yes, quite a bit of other things than just examine rocks. 50, it's like 50-50 um office and field work for me. So on a normal day, if I'm not in the field drilling, looking at rocks, I'm in the office preparing reports. A lot of that is research based. So you're looking at existing maps, hazard maps published by various state organizations and trying to determine, hey, is there any, larger scale hazards potentially at play? Writing those reports, drafting figures, a lot of cross sections. At the previous firm I was at, we didn't have a AutoCAD department to make our figures digital for us. So I taught myself CAD and learned how to make all those figures myself. Um, and then it's still a business too, when you're working for a private organization like me. So we have to find this work. So there's also writing proposals, sometimes meeting with clients, uh, getting various certifications, updating your certifications. Um, I did the concrete inspection thing for a little while. Um, one of the crazier things I did, oh, excuse me. Sorry. Um, for about 2.5 years, I was performing construction QA at various landfills in Southern California. So they were installing these wells and pipes into the trash and then would hook them up to this big vacuum system, and it would suck the landfill gases out of the trash, and they would take it to a flare and would burn it off so it wouldn't smell. Or a lot of these landfills, especially the bigger ones now, have power stations on site, so they can take the landfill gas and burn it to generate electricity. So if you ever hear renewable methane, that's actually one of the sources is landfill gas. So yeah, I spent 2.5 years watching them put these into the ground and making sure that they were all done in accordance with the design plans and the standards of practice, and just a lot of documenting and observing and communicating when things inevitably went wrong, and they would have to change something in the field. I was the middleman between the person putting in the the gas collection systems and the engineer who designed them.